Well, good morning, everybody. It's Keith Pitch here with Real Estate Now with my co-host Stacy Chevalier. Stacy, good morning.
Hey, good morning. Happy to
What's
be
new?
here. Oh, just a Thursday mid-month. It's
Yeah.
good.
Oh, whoops! Pop that one up too quick. Thursday midnight.
Yeah,
It's sunny out.
it is for us here in the Pacific Northwest. It's a good change.
Yeah, we had quite the blustery start to the week, and things have settled down nicely here, and the sun is shining. So, um, wanted to jump into our show today because we've got some shiny news, so to speak, about Q3 and the real estate market. But before we jump in and bring in our real estate agent panel, I wanted to talk about what we talk about every week, right? Interest rates. Interest rates continue to tick down, tick down, tick down. They're not moving a lot, but they are moving a little bit. Um, the great thing about this, in my opinion, is that they're pretty much staying flat. If you notice there in the last 3 4 weeks, that trend line is pretty flat. So still a great time to take advantage of rates. Still a great time to buy. Still a great time to refinance. Still a great time to take cash out and buy another house. Whether that's a second home, whether that is a rental property, I've got a lot of folks doing that right now, tapping into their equity to buy more houses. So, uh, great time to do it.
Definitely. And I know for us, we had an improvement in pricing just yesterday. So, regardless of what the graph shows, companies also have the ability to influence their own rates at times. And so ours are did get some benefit yesterday. So
True,
definitely a
true.
good time to purchase or refinance.
Awesome. Yeah, it's awesome time. But another awesome time right now is if you are a seller, right? So today's show, we're doing our Q3 update from 2020. And joining us today is Mr. Aaron Thomas. Mr. Aaron, what's going on, my friend?
I'm alive and kicking.
Nice. Are you in a classroom somewhere? You look like you're in a
No,
class.
just I'm in my office.
You're in your office. Okay, gotcha. I thought that was like a drop down projector screen behind you.
Uh, it's drop down, but it's paper.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
There you go. Nice.
Most of our
Um,
panels running late this morning. I'm trying to look for Dan right now. We've got too many message platforms to look at.
yeah, some other panelists are listing a house today,
Hmm.
so it's busy
Probably.
right now, right? So, well, thanks for joining us. Tell us a little bit what's going down south there, Aaron.
A lot of the same, actually. Not a whole lot's changed in the last 30, 60 days. Still really fast. Still a lot of multiple offer situations. Uh, still a lot of people fighting for homes. Still not too much inventory. The inventory is starting to just pull back even more. So there's people kind of tightening up, I think, and packing things in over the holiday, which is going to create an opportunity for those that can go ahead and get their properties listed. So that's what we're seeing.
So, what do you
Not
say that again? What do you think will happen over the holidays?
uh, I think that we'll see the same trend that we have, which is people still want to buy. And those that are considering selling that have a place that they feel like they can secure, they're going to see a little bit less competition. There'll be less homes listed, but there'll be less people actively shopping, but not a lot. It's still going to be a little bit difficult to get into something if you're a buyer. So again, it's a skills world. You need to be working with somebody that's got the skills to help you out, is really the bottom line on the buying side and the selling side. If you don't, then you're going to, potentially, unless you know a lot about real estate, you might be the one that's coming in second and third place on these multiple offer situations. And sometimes you can't always win. You can't be somebody who's got a great cash offer when you're not. So it is very much having some patience and some grace with the market, and fighting a little bit, and it eventually works out just fine. It's nothing to avoid.
Yeah, it's interesting because the tagline that I posted was from Como's article this earlier this week in their interview with Matthew Gardner, and like the Puget Sound area is under a month's worth of inventory. And I think you
Yeah,
hit the nail on the head. It's a skills game right now. You've
it
got to
is.
find somebody that knows how to sharpen that pencil and look appealing to a seller, right?
Yeah. Well, and look for the opportunities that aren't the obvious ones, right? So off-market properties, the negotiations are a little more challenging. So you're right, skills based. A normal market supply is about 5 months worth of inventory, and we're not even 4, 3, 2, or 1. We're at 0.4 here in Thurston and South Pierce. So we're talking in a typical market, you've got new listings coming on, and then you've got all these kind of ones that have sold, and then you got all the stuff in between. And the problem is with this much what they call absorption, with this many homes selling all at once, there's none of that middle inventory that you could typically go out and purchase pretty easily. It's really the stuff you're fighting for or the stuff that other people have passed on. And so you got to be, if you're a buyer, you got to be really plugged into what's coming up and how quickly and being on top of that game. Because the reality is the stuff that's been listed for a while, you're probably waiting for it to maybe drop price, or it's not financeable, or there's some reason it's not selling. So it's a little bit challenging.
So when you say 0.4 for a general audience, if a normal market's 5 months, you're saying we're under 2 weeks. Is that right?
Yeah. So in a typical county, you may see, like Thurston, for instance, you may see 600 to 1,000 homes for sale that you could go out and buy. And right now, last month and this month, we had 235.
Wow.
So at any given moment, well, actually on the first of each month when I check, there's 235 available, and that's it in the entire county. And normally you would have, 5, 6 times that amount to choose from. So that's why it's such a low supply.
Okay, I gotta throw a shameless plug in there. Are you using our renovation lending to help people with those non-financeable deals or those ugly deals they can dress up?
Yeah, people are investors are scooping those up a lot too.
I know.
So you'll find some competition there where you can use that product. It's not a problem, but then you're also fighting with the person who may be able to purchase it cash, and the seller on that side is usually going to take the cash if it's pretty close. So again,
yeah, for those people looking, if you do see a non-financeable property, don't let that scare you away, because there are, to Keith's point, there are lending programs that actually will let you lend on them. You can't.
Totally. Yeah, and a lot of banks don't have them, and nobody knows they exist, right? That's why you're here.
We got them. So I wanted to circle back. Like you said, the investors are out there hot and heavy, and they are. What mentality shift have they seen? Because when we were talking about investors in March and April, they were like, "Oh, I'm not touching anything right now. I'm not going to buy anything right now." And then all of a sudden, fast forward 4.5, 5 months, they're buying left and right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they've got to fight for deals too. It depends on the type of investor, Excuse me, I need to raise this computer up. It's driving me nuts. They got, sorry guys, cash, right? I mean, what are they going to do with the property? Are they going to flip it? Are they going to hold it? Those things, those universal truths still apply. So the person who's going to flip the property has a hard time competing with the person who's going to keep the property, because they can acquire it, for they can pay more for it. They don't have to turn around, sell it again. So we're not seeing a whole lot yet, and maybe we will in the spring and you guys would be able to speak to this better than me, but where people are in forbearance situations where that forbearance is going to be challenging for them to work out, and they may have to sell. And we're anticipating some of that inventory to maybe come on in the spring. What about you guys?
We're having lots of forbearance conversations for sure. What we're seeing is we're having folks come to us now, either refinancing or looking to purchase, and realizing that their forbearance kind of put a wrench in that whole operation.
Yeah.
So we've got a lot of, hey, you're going to have to wait and make 3 payments so you can get your credit back into a healthy standpoint. Or a lot of people don't realize that to solve the whole forbearance thing, if you sell your house, you end all forbearance issues, and you can turn around and go buy another house. Right?
Yeah.
So there's lots of that conversation. I do. This is my opinion. Um, I believe that we're going to have some folks come to the forbearance uh, settlement, if you will, and say it's just easier for me to sell the house. So I do believe that we're going to see, as people come out of forbearance, that 6 months is quickly approaching in
Yeah.
October, November, and then people are going to be like, well, why don't I just sell this, take my equity out, and move on with my life? So
Yeah.
uh, that's my opinion. Whether that comes to fruition or not, we'll see. But you
Hmm.
know, it goes back to I want to say this or ask you this question: what impact, if that forbearance inventory comes onto the market, is it going to have a negative impact on our market?
I don't believe it. I believe because there are so many homeowners that we talk to that some of them purchased 6 months ago and they have the equity to sell again
Mhm.
and not owe the bank money, which is unprecedented, right?
Totally.
So what the pain you would really try to avoid in the credit impact of short selling or foreclosure, it's not there like it has been in the past right now because the values have come up so quickly. So um, if anything, I think since the inventory is so historically low, if that situation comes to fruition and there are all those people that need to sell and they can, and if they're not going to take a huge impact, I think it's only going to help to stabilize and balance out the market between the buyer and the seller. And if anything, it would help pull back pricing increases a little bit, which we can all agree that is right now seemingly unsustainable.
Yeah, I mean, I think everything that I'm seeing is already going into 2021 should be a fairly flat market.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
So we won't
small
see
increases.
year-over-year, huge increases. And we have to
Yeah,
remember, I mean, unemployment is still high, so I do think we will see, unfortunately, some foreclosures hit the market.
yeah. You guys down here and in Pierce, I could check the numbers, but the average home price year over year, so last year at this time, if you own the average home, right? $63,000 increase. So if you bought it last year, even if you bought it 6 months ago, that's enough to sell most houses, unless you're talking super high price point. So, I mean, the market itself, as far as equity situations, is extremely healthy, just based off of that. So,
Yeah.
if somebody finds themselves in that unfortunate situation where they just bought the home and their employment is not there for them to make the payment and the forbearance is not an option any longer, that's going to be your person that is probably going to sell because they can avoid the credit hit and they can also maybe make some money and move on to the next situation for them.
Yeah. Restructure, regroup.
Yeah.
Um,
So.
with that price appreciation you just mentioned,
Mhm.
I was following just this morning. I was following a real estate group on Facebook, and the string was talking about short appraisals.
Yeah.
I think in a rapidly appreciating market, we should talk about that. What are you seeing as far as short appraisals down in Thurston and Pierce?
We're seeing appraisals come back low. It's happening. We've had several. We have one right now that we're working on with an actual new construction builder. So it's occurring. I mean, the values are coming up so quick. The appraisers are, they're looking at what they can, and sometimes the data is old, right? And they got to justify it on paper, and they're having a hard time doing that in some instances. So
Yeah, 'cause it's
we're
moving.
seeing deals be renegotiated between the buyer and the seller, and sometimes it works, and sometimes they can't come to an agreement, and the house goes back on market or whatever the case may be. But I can tell you, typically, the situation does work itself out somehow. Both parties come together through some sort of price correction adjustment, or more money down, less than purchase price, and they're able to resolve the issue.
Yeah, let's speak to that a little deeper. I think on both sides of the coin, both the buyers and the sellers, they don't kind of understand the procedure that goes into a short
Sure.
appraisal. I mean, let's start with the buyer. How is the buyer protected in that case?
How's the buyer protected?
Yeah.
Typically in the purchase agreement, it is it's known that should the home not appraise for the value on the agreement, that they're not bound to those terms any longer. In your average agreement, in your average paperwork that's put in the purchase and sale agreement. And so, that begins a lot of different options that are situation dependent, financing dependent. You guys know this. And sometimes it takes a little time to iron those things out, which can be a little unsettling for both parties. It really depends on each individual. What we see mostly is a seller, if they own a home that's $400,000 and they sell it for $430,000 and the appraisal comes back at $415,000, they still are ahead, right? They're still at 415. They're still doing pretty dang good. We try to explain to clients that until you close, you do not want to spend any of the proceeds that you have because it's not in your pocket yet. It's just like anything else, right? You sell your car online, it's worth 10,000. The guy online is coming to give you 11. You're all happy. You're shopping online for new stuff. And you're like, and then the guy doesn't show up, right? Or he shows up and he says, you know what? I thought about it and I'll give you 9,000. So you just, you don't want to spend the money. Because if you think about it, it did go more than that person's third-party opinion, and they're a professional, right? The appraiser's a pro at that. Typically, we see that the seller is having to come down. That's usually what happens in our market.
What's the standard timeline you're seeing right now for contract to close, just in general, and are appraisals influencing the timeline?
Low appraisals, I can only go off of what we have experienced, and we do a decent amount of sales, over 100 sales per year. And so we see somewhere in that 10% range, low appraisal situations. So it's not a lot, we don't have a whole lot. We're not a bank like you guys. So we aren't seeing it affect.
But are you saying is your turn, are you closing new purchases in 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 5 weeks? And our appraisals coming back, what's their turn time? 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks?
We haven't seen delays in appraisals. We've seen delays in closings based off of escrow's availability because they're really bogged down with refinances. So what we're seeing is your average 30-day close, the lender all parties need to be really, really on board with getting that thing closed in 30 days right now. Whereas a few months ago, that was pretty easy to make happen. And now we're seeing an average of 1 week on top of. So we're seeing a lot of closings be in that 30 to the 40-day period, but it's not really influenced by appraisals because that's not really coming up that much. If it does come up, however, it is delaying things. I mean, reconsiderations, that whatever the appeals process is for a low appraisal is taking a while. If we're dependent upon, another party for that, if it's not just between the buyer and the seller, if it's dependent upon the bank or whatever, the last couple we've seen like 2 weeks extra on that. We've got one right now where they're saying 19 days is what to expect.
Probably 19 business days too.
And that's business. Yeah, that's business days. And we're going into holidays, right? So
it's a really unusual market that we're in a refinance rally and a purchase rally. In 20 years, I've never seen anything like it. So we're really fortunate that the market came together pretty quickly to get PIWs, or for those of you watching, appraisal, not needing an appraisal on a lot of refinances. And that's helped appraisers not get behind on the purchases. So that could have been a lot worse. But yeah, 2 rallies at once. It's crazy time right now.
Yeah, they're busy.
Yeah, and that's a good point as far as the 30-day close, because I know a lot of folks are trying in these multiple offers to say, hey, we can close quicker. I've talked to a handful of folks across the mortgage spectrum, and 30 days is a minimum right now. If you're anything on that contract that's shorter than 30 days, you're going to need an extension. And I'm full disclosure with both sides. If I get one that's shorter than 30 days right now, I'm like, I respect that you guys put this on the contract. However, this is the reality of the situation, because we all want to set expectations that are going to be met.
Yeah.
People get moving trucks that they.
Oh yeah, it's a mess. hmm
it becomes a big mess.
It does quickly. Yeah.
So, full disclosure is super important in that respect. So, um, you mentioned a little bit about the holiday season going into it. Uh, if somebody's really looking to sell this holiday season, is I've heard different things kicked around, like don't list after Thanksgiving, or are there any tips going into Q4 if somebody's looking to list their house that they should be taking advantage of right now?
Yeah. I mean, I think just like everything else that is 2020, everything is a little bit different, right? And I think we're going to see that this year too. With typically, you see the inventory really pull back, and that is based off of a lot of people's plans. Kids are out of school for a little break. People are traveling. I really think there's going to be less of that this year. And because of that, I think there's going to be more people open to the idea of continuing to shop for the house that they've been trying to get and listing theirs. There's also a lot less daylight too. People think that I'm looking to sell my house and my backyard doesn't look as good right now. I get it. And that's a major selling point, right? So there's a lot of different reasons that would cause people to wait for the spring. My recommendation is don't wait until everybody else does. You'll still be okay then, but that there's going to be some opportunities. And any realtor is going to tell you it's the best time ever to sell, right? They'll tell you that a year from now, 16 months from now. They told you that 2 months ago. But that balance of those two major things, which is historically low inventory paired with a lot of people who just won't make the decision because they're going to do family time. There's going to be some sellers who really opportunistically take advantage this winter. There will be, because people will still shop, because people have been shopping and they haven't been able to find what they want. And so they're going to keep doing it, especially during COVID times, because they aren't traveling. And so it'll be interesting to see how it unfolds, but that's my personal belief. And it's actually what I'm seeing statistically play out right now.
Gotcha. So my wife and I are kicking around the idea of buying a second home. Have you been working with your past clients? Is there a demand for second homes out there right now, or what are you seeing?
Yeah, I think two things. People are right now shopping in areas that they've always wanted to live because they can.
Yeah.
And because their work the work life for some people is forever changed, in the sense that their employers have told them, look, we aren't going back to a traditional office situation for you, especially those that are more in leaderships of companies or management. So I'm seeing a lot of that. And so we're seeing people shop in areas where they didn't think they would. So if they had that sort of, corporate job in the city, those people are now able to, what do they call it? Telework.
Telecommute. Telecommute, I think it is.
Yeah. So we're seeing that with people approaching us wanting to buy properties in areas that we didn't normally see that many people wanting to purchase. And that includes the second houses, the houses that are, lakes, mountains, those sorts of things.
Yeah, I thought we would definitely see people start leaving the larger, more expensive metro areas, but at least and I think that may be happening in Seattle proper.
Yeah.
I'm not tracking that exactly, but in the Bellevue market, it's just like nothing happened. Like it's crazy town. Companies are moving in, people are moving here. It has not slowed down at all. Everything is shut down. People are still moving here.
You make a good point, though. I mean, nobody should take necessarily my advice down here if they're in Bellevue. I mean, I would recommend getting the person who totally knows what's going on in Bellevue to give you that advice, right? But I can say the mistake that I see some people make is to know what's going on, you have to actually pay attention. And not everybody in this type of career does. A lot of people that sell homes, there's a lot of people that do loans. And I don't think they're doing enough to really know what's going on, because they're just not touching enough customers and seeing. And so getting advice from somebody who's doing, a decent amount of business I believe it's smart.
I love that you just said like that like, not all markets are your market, right? So we were talking to an agent a couple of weeks ago who primarily does investment properties. She said the same thing. She got a multi-million-dollar listing, and she was like, I can't help you. You have to go to a different agent.
That's really
and I don't think all agents would say what you just said or what she said a few weeks ago. So
Yeah.
just reach out to Aaron, find someone you trust that's going to give you the right advice. And if he's not the right person, he's going to tell you. And I just think that's a hard thing to find in this industry.
It is, honesty, as cliche as it sounds, you get a true pro if they want the best possible outcome for you. I would never list a commercial property because I've never sold one. I know other agents that would list a commercial property because it's an opportunity for them to make a commission. To me, that's ridiculous. If you don't know what you're doing with something, you shouldn't be doing it, or you should be getting help to do it. So that's a good point.
There's no problem in that. No shame.
No.
Right?
Absolutely. I mean, and don't get me wrong, you got to learn what you don't know, but you don't have to treat a client as a guinea pig. I mean, this is a fiduciary job. We are there to make sure that they get taken care of. And you can do that. Like you said, you just bring somebody else in and you work together.
Yeah. It's a journeyman position, right? You're taking second seat to the person that knows the commercial exposure. Yeah, I've worked on both sides of the mortgage coin, both commercial and residential. And when I've done commercial deals that were represented by residential brokers,
Mm-hmm.
they don't know half of the stuff that I'm asking, and
Yeah.
it makes the transaction super difficult.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
Okay.
I got to ask my friends in property management about rental stuff all the time, and I own rental property, but I'm not in the world every day. You know what I mean? I'm not. So
That's a great note. I mean, we can't know it all. That's why we rely on people that have the expertise in what we're looking for. So
yeah.
it's awesome. Well, what are your holiday plans?
Oh man, that's not a question I expected. We're really busy right now, so I'm sure working is included, but that is unfortunate because we don't work to work unless you're kind of crazy. But I'd like to do something with the kids. We'd like to go somewhere. We like going to the mountains, and I think you can socially distance really easy. So I'm hoping that we have a regular good ski season. That'll be fun. We have been going down to government camp a lot, Mount Hood. It's really easy to get there. Used to go to Sancadia a lot, but you got to deal with the pass. Leavenworth, you got to deal with the pass. So we've been going to government camp. Super easy to get there. Love the place. Lots of guaranteed snow. So that's our plan.
That's cool. We'll have to try that. I haven't heard any update on if mountains are going to be open or not yet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that was our go-to too every winter.
Mm-hmm.
What, Keith?
They keep going back and forth. We're trying to get our season passes up at Summit and Snoqualmie because it's just so close to my house. And they've paused pass sales. They're still trying to figure that out. So we'll see how the ski season goes. But I'll tell you this, and my 9-year-old hit the nail on the head. He's like, well, skiing is a no-brainer. Everybody's got their face masks on anyways because they want to stay warm.
Yeah,
So
that's true.
Good point.
Yeah, I think it's a good activity for that. They also have a really cool sledding hill. So for kids,
Yep.
Really, nice big sledding hill, and you don't have to walk back up the hill. Is the best part. Got a little conveyor belt thing.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Right on. Well, Aaron, I appreciate you joining us today. Give us a snippet of what the world of real estate is looking like. And if we don't talk to you before the holiday season, have a great holiday, and we'll catch you in Q1 at the very latest.
Oh yeah, for sure, you guys. Thanks for having me on.
Thanks, Aaron.
Right on. Have a good one, man.
All right, take care.
Well,
so we'll add Aaron's information to the video chat so you guys can reach out to him. He really is a great resource that is someone you can trust. And so, like we said, that's hard to find, but any real estate questions, definitely he's there for you guys.
Yep, absolutely. And thanks for joining us this week. Next week, we have Bob Gross with BPG Inspections joining us. So if you want to know the ins and outs of inspecting your properties that you're buying, Join us next Thursday morning at 10 a.m. and have a great week.